The common mistake here is to place the cast shadow in a straight line without noticing that the ass has curves and the proper cast shadow of the jacket is also curved. We left the figure in this step. It's finished, right? Well, it's left the rifle. This is a mistake. I see a lot of figures that they still don't have cast shadows among them. It's really important that you think about them, that you complete the figure and you do a more realistic approach. You see, like immediately my own bulbs creates a cast shadow in the back part. You have to do this, you have to help the viewer creating them. This also adds a feeling that you can touch the figure. It's so realistic, adding these little details, little cast shadows here and there, that you can touch it. The skin is alive. So let's learn how to do it. The first step here is trying to get a delusion that it's thick but the same way transparent, and you can see the curve or the shapes you're doing with the brush without breaking so easily the paint. What means this? Look at the image. Look at how the paint goes in the middle and try to the paint doesn't respect the previous shape. It curves and like moves to the middle of the stroke. Well, with this mix of glaze medium and ultramatte varnish from Macca, you can do a transparent color like this that you can stain a bit with other color. For example, in this case, the cast shadow, and you create like a thick dilution, and you allow the paint to don't break, to do a larger shape of stroke without losing the shape you wanted to create. This is the same that when I explain the quality of, for example, Maimeri or Golden or Schmink in the side of Vallejo or Citadel. This is one of the reasons that I prefer quality painting, because the stroke wouldn't break so easily. You can do better shapes with them. So with this dilution, we can paint shapes and respect the transparencies and the proper shape we're doing. This is a bit tricky, okay? Because we have to paint large lines. It's better to do a large line in one attempt than doing like 7 lines trying to get correctly the shape like I did here, because this adds extra layers to the cast shadow, and then we have to unify them. We have to touch it a bit to do it better. But you know that the soul of my videos is showing you the mistakes to solution. So you do the shape of all the objects that stops the light and represents a cast shadow below. Also, an interesting fact of the cast shadow is that they are more strong near the object. This means that now this is not important because these trimings, these metal parts, are really close to the skin. But when we paint the belt that it's blowing attached to the jacket, the clue here is to paint only in the top part of the skin, letting or degrading the cast shadow the more you go down, because the light and the cast shadow it creates is stronger the nearest of the object to the top part of the skin. You will understand it now. So here I follow all the silhouettes of the metal. Okay. Now in the jacket, in the ass, we do the same. Look at the stroke. Look at how large and wide is the stroke, because I try to avoid giving a lot of strokes to avoid the overlapping rule. and slowly I began doing the shape. A common mistake here is to create like a straight line. You have to notice that the ass has curves, the anatomy of the ass, and also the jacket, it's a bit curved. So don't do straight cast shadows. Study the texture and the rebondings. Now here is the detail I want you to look at. As you see, I'm creating the cast shadow of the belt, but I'm not going down. I'm letting the cast shadow to degrade, to unify with the bottom of the skin. And this has the same logical reason I explained, is that the more you go down, the more light comes through and the less cast shadow it creates. If you made it too strong, just get the brush with no paint, with a little water, and start rubbing it out. You can get out the last layer of paint if you do it gently with a few touches. And it's more realistic to do it in that way. Some cast shadows degrade it and loses the strongness, and some cast shadows, like the arm or the ass one, needs highlights inside of them. Remember that cast shadows also has highlights and shadows. Now this one, I love this one. This is the one that's created by the jacket. The one in the right, it's stronger or it's wider because the jacket is a bit more curved in their breasts. Also important, the one that the metal trimming has in the neck also creates a little cast shadow there. Now here, look at the feeling. It's a bit dirty because I made the mistake. Well, the mistake. It's really difficult to do it in a one stroke. So sure, you will do it in several ones. And here is the clue to fix it. And also, we will add highlights to that cast shadow. So we get a mid-tone of the skin and start placing a highlight in the top part of the bottom, because imagine this situation. It would be logical if a different source of light than the one that's affecting the ass from the top is affecting the cast shadow from other angle. So I wanted to represent this. Also, it helps us to try to cover a bit those mistakes or those strokes we give previously with the brush. Looking a few steps, we created a beautiful cast shadow with intention and with simple and clean surface. Now I get again the highlight tone and place a strong highlight up there. And look at the difference between the ass one and the cast shadow. The cast shadow is a bit different, it's a bit in a side. Why? Because the next step is to get green with a bit of the tone of the cast shadow and place it only over the cast shadow and the light we were painting before. Why? Because as I was explaining before, this is a light that comes from other part. And this light is a bit green because in the top of this light is the jacket, and the jacket is green. Remember that when you paint a cast shadow, you have to pay attention of the object that's above. For example, if you are in the streets and you see a cast shadow of a building, just look at the color of the cast shadow. If it's a bit blue, look up. Maybe you have the sky, the blue sky, reflecting its color on it. And now with a bit more of work, we have all the cast shadows placed, all the hidden details. Look, for example, the one in the arm. Look how I added this little highlight in the bone, in the volume there. Remember that the cast shadow also has highlights and shadows. And in the last video, we will see how to do the rifle with a really interesting technique that's with a lot of scratches and texture.